Welcome to the West Ham Voice on a Christmas Eve special. Just a quick show, really, and then a bit of an update from the show I did the other day when I talked about players that were probably available for the game against Arsenal. And there's been a little bit of an update, hasn't there? Especially with the manager's press conference that was held the other day. It's always the case, isn't it? As soon as you put an update video out, a bit of information comes along and changes the whole complexion of what you spoke about before. And with David Moyes, with the return of the Premier League just 2 days away now, David Moyes held his first pre-match Premier League press conference in preparation for the game against Arsenal on Boxing Day. He spoke about a number of different things. He spoke about pressure or no pressure and about team selection and players that may be available to him. For example, he mentioned about he's not sure whether the World Cup was a good or a bad distraction before the World Cup started, but he affirmed that given the situation that we're in hindsight, it was probably a good thing and probably helped to recharge the players' batteries, having had already played 24 games this season. Moyes also touched upon the pressure he's been put under, the predicament he's in with the league, and he actually said, as you get out, he's felt no pressure, and he's had great conversations with David Sullivan, and he went on to say, as you get older, you don't feel the pressure so much. He then talked about having had 2-3 years of great times, and sometimes we have dips, which we're in at the moment, especially in the Premier League, and at times like these, you need the board and everyone to stick together. Look, I'm not going to go into what he said about that. I'm sure you've already passed your own judgment on David Moyes and whether he should or shouldn't be under pressure. He says he's not. I kind of guess that, he's going to probably say that because the last thing I think the players are going to want to hear is we're under pressure and to apply even more pressure to them. So I guess it's a bit of PR politics there from David Moyes. I'm not going to pass judgment on that, whether he's right or wrong in what he said. I'm sure, like I said, you've already feel your own way as to what you think about Moyes and the pressure that he may or may not be under. What I want to talk about in this show is really to focus on the players and player updates that Moyes provided. As you may be aware, on Thursday, I gave you an update on players that had just come back from injury and had just come back from the World Cup duty. And I suggested that we may well see Nayef Aguerd, Thilo Kehrer, Lucas Paqueta, Declan Rice, Michail Antonio and Aaron Cresswell all featuring in the game against Arsenal on Monday night. Moyes mentioned 3 of these players in his press conference in which he suggested some of them may not be fit for the Arsenal game. And I just want to sort of delve into that a little bit more. He talked about Nayef Aguerd, and we saw a photo today of Aguerd alongside Declan Rice back in the West Ham fold after his break in the World Cup, and fantastic from him and Morocco for what they'd done in the World Cup. Moyes stated that the player had a virus and an injury, which were the reasons why he came off in the last game he played against Spain and didn't start in the final few games in the World Cup as well. And Moyes went on to say he's back on Saturday and an assessment will be made on how he is. Now, look, I think Aguerd could be a player that will still play. I know he hasn't played for a couple of games, and I know it's since the Spain game that he's not kicked a ball. But I've got a feeling that he may well get to start, or may well be on the bench for the game against Arsenal. Look, if Aguerd is available, this is what I suggested would be the lineup. I think Aguerd will take his place in a back 4 with a 2 in the middle, a 3 and a 1. And you can see I've got an Antonio down there as well, which Moyes spoke about. And I'm going to come to him as well in a moment. Now, if Aguerd is really not available, then we can see a back line, a back 4, which will include Dawson and Ogbonna. Now, I love Ogbonna and I love Dawson. I think they've both done superbly. I think Dawson coming in and proving all his doubters wrong over the past couple of seasons has been immense for West Ham United. And I think Ogbonna has been one of our best defenders in a very, very long time. He's been superb for us. But having those 2 starting in a Premier League game against the likes of Arsenal doesn't fill me with too much confidence, to be quite honest with you. If you've watched some of the shows I've done, I've said that during our mid-season friendlies, I think the concern that we still have is our backline. I still don't think we've got that right somehow. However, I think quite possibly in order to compensate, David Moyes may go with a back five. If he sticks with Dawson and Ogbonna, I can see him putting Cresswell as one of the three centre halves, and possibly Emerson on the right side, on the left side, with probably Kehrer on the right side. I can see that possibly happening. Alternatively, he could go with Fornals. Now, I hope he doesn't, to be really honest with you. I think we've had the Fornals experiment as a left wing back, and it's not fair on the player. I mean, he does as best as he possibly can, but I worry about him. I would worry about him playing as a left wing back again. Now, we've bought players, haven't we? We've got Cornet, who's out injured at the moment, probably till mid-January, and we've got Emerson, who have been brought in as left wing back options. So I would hope if Moyes does go for a five at the back with wing backs, I really hope he actually goes with Emerson rather than Fornals. I just worry about that if he does that. So that's the back line. And then we look at the front line, and Moyes made an interesting comment. And I'll tell you why it was interesting. He talked about Scamacca, who we know has got an injury to his ankle and quite possibly won't be available for the game against Arsenal. But then he talked about Antonio, and he said he's got a calf strain. Well, hang on a minute. We thought the other day that he had a thigh strain, and now he's got a calf strain. So I don't know which it is. And then he said both have a chance, but they're doubtful. Is this a bit of David Moyes' mind games? Because we did actually see the player in training. Antonio, calf strain, thigh strain, or whatever it is, was in training with the rest of the squad the other day. Now, if you've got a strain, you're not likely to be sort of jeopardizing it by doing any training at all. I think Antonio will start, to be quite honest with you, and I think that might be a little bit of mind games with David Moyes, making Arsenal think that potentially Antonio's not available, and then they'll prepare to put a team out or to play a tactic that will not have to worry about Antonio's type of play. So I think it's a little bit of mind games going on. And David Moyes went on. He talked about Jarrod Bowen, and he said Jarrod is more than capable of playing down the middle. He's done the same with Arnautovic and Antonio in converting them from a winger to a striker. And who says we can't do the same with Jarrod? Now, the one thing we worry about with David Moyes is trying to fit square pegs in round holes. And I just wonder in this case whether this is the case with Jarrod Bowen, because his stats as a striker are pretty good. Now, Bowen has made 125 appearances for West Ham in total so far. He's scored 32 goals with 23 assists. Not bad, is it, really? Now, as a striker, he's made 19 appearances, of which he's scored 9 goals with 3 assists. That's almost a goal in every 2 games. And as you can see in his natural position as a right winger, he's made 87 appearances, scoring 21 goals with 17 assists, which is approximately 1 goal in every 4 games. He's played in other positions, attacking midfielder, etc., making 9 appearances with 2 goals. But you can see that putting Jarrod Bowen wouldn't necessarily be a square peg in a round hole, to be quite honest with you. I think it's not a bad move. It would be a pretty decent move to put Bowen in there. And it's interesting also, we're talking about not having any money in the January transfer window, and probably one area I think we should be strengthening is certainly the striker role. And if we don't have that money available, then obviously you could see that Bowen could do a job up front. And we've got enough midfielders. We've got the likes of Fornals, Cornet coming back, Ben Rama, etc., who could fill the 3. You know, if Moyes continues to play a 4-2-3-1, we've got enough players that can fill the midfield berth or the attacking midfield berth, even if Bowen did go up front. And that, in a way, given our 2 strikers, Antonio and Scamacca, are not really doing much in the Premier League, only 2 goals each so far between them, you could see that quite possibly Bowen would be it wouldn't be a shoo-in, it would be a good option, a good alternative option up front. Now, let's go back a little bit and go back to midfield, because one of the things I hope for, I don't know if he does go for a 5 at the back. One of the things I hope for, if he does go 5 at the back, who he'll play alongside Declan Rice. This has been a debate. It should no longer be a debate, to be quite honest with you, because we've seen what it's like in the World Cup, where Paqueta plays in a deeper role and has been very, very successful in it. So, if, for example, we go for a 5 at the back, then the 2 in midfield could potentially be Paqueta and Declan Rice. he might go for his normal option and go for Souček. I hope it's Paqueta, to be quite honest with you. There's an alternative. We can do a 5-4-1 formation where you've got Paqueta and you've got Souček alongside Declan Rice and maybe Benrahma on the left. Again, 5 at the back with Bowen up front. Or you can do a 5-3-2 formation, which is probably even better, a 5-3-2 or a 5-3-1-1. You've got that 3 midfield, Paqueta, Souček and Declan Rice. And then you've got your 2 attackers, Benrahma supporting Bowen, either alongside him or just behind him. Either will work. Now, this is all based on whether Aguerd is going to make it or not. If Aguerd doesn't make it, I think for Moyes to compensate, I think and if he does start Ogbonna and Cresswell, etc., I think he will go for a 5 at the back and try and stifle the Arsenal attack. But of course, the counter argument there is it means we don't have much of an attack when we break, which is a shame. But that's what Moyes may do. I hope, if Paqueta is available, I hope that's the lineup that we have. 4 at the back, probably Kehrer with Dawson alongside Aguerd and Cresswell on the left side with, as I said, either Souček or Declan Rice in the middle. Paqueta, I'd like to see him drop deeper and put Souček further up forward if need be. Then Bowen, Benrahma and Antonio up front. And like I said, I think Antonio is going to be a surprise. Probably Aguerd as well. It all depends on late fitness for Aguerd. I think Antonio is available, so I think quite likely we'll see him start. The alternative, if those players are not available, this is what you might see. You might see a back 5, like I said, with Antonio missing and Aguerd missing. You might see a back 5 with a 3 in the middle and 1 or 2 up front. Right, that's it. Thank you all for watching. It's coming up to the Christmas Day, and I wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas. And I do thank you all for watching the channel, supporting the channel, challenging me with all your comments and opinions, which keep me on my toes. And like I always say, I always welcome all opinions. We may not always agree, but at least this is a channel that you can have yourself heard. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for supporting. Have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas to you all. And I'll be back just before the new year to wish you a happy new year as well. So have a wonderful day on Christmas Day. Come on, West Ham. Let's do it on Monday night against Arsenal. And I'll see you all very soon.